Welcome back to Crochet by Night. Instead of crocheting tonight, I'm going to try to make this foam head that I got at the local craft store have some pizzazz. And I've been looking online and seeing how people have painted and decoupaged their heads, and so I'm going to try it with a couple of different things. The first thing we're going to use is this, if I can put it up here, just these fall leaves that I got 40% off at Hobby Lobby. And I've got some water here that I put in a container. I've got some Mod Podge, and I've got it in Super Gloss Brilliant. Got a paintbrush, and underneath my foam head here is just like a plastic mat so that I don't get it on my table. And I'm going to start by dipping my couple of leaves in water just to kind of see what that's like and test that out. I've used Mod Podge or Decoupage before, and I really like it. The thing though I found is if you get the item that you're sticking on the other item wet, then it really helps for it to stick to whatever you're sticking it to. Okay, so I am going to put a little Mod Podge right here on the top of this head, which I'm not sure. I just want to make sure I cover it. We're just going to start right here at the forehead. And then I've got these wet, and I'm literally just going to stick them on there in different ways, overlapping them. Kind of press down a little bit. Let's see if it sticks. They may be a little too wet actually. Let me try one that's not wet. Let's put it over here. I may not be getting enough of the Mod Podge on, but we'll see. Actually, it goes on better dry. So I am going to stick these on all over this head, and then I'm going to come back after it dries and put another coat of Mod Podge over the top of it. When I am done, I noticed that the color's running a little bit here. That's not a good sign. But when I'm done, I am going to come back and show you what it looks like. I'm also going to use two other techniques to see which one is best, and I'm going to compare. This one right here is just scrapbook paper, and then I also have some tissue paper, and I've got 3 different heads, and I'm going to do the same technique on each one, and I'll show you a little bit of each one as I go, and then come back and we'll see which one worked out the best. So stay tuned. Okay, I'm back, and let me show you. First off, the Mod Podge did not work on the leaves that I got, the fall leaves. So let me see if I can turn the camera so you can see. I ended up using Elmer's Craft Bond, and boy did I mess that up. I sprayed it, oversprayed. It was on my hands, on my table. Anyway, but it's got the initial leaves attached to it, and we'll come back. I'm gonna let that dry good, and then we'll come back and see what we can do to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and try another technique. This one is Mod Podge, but with the paper, the scrapbook paper, and what I did was I just cut it up, you can see, into little squares, and we're going to see if and I'm gonna start in the back this time. I'm gonna see if if the Mod Podge will adhere to the foam head using this craft paper, see how it works out. So let's see what we can do with it. Oh yeah, it sticks a little better. So I am going to randomly stick this all the way around this head, and then I will come back and we will see what that looks like. The final one that I will do will be the tissue paper, and we'll see how that works out. I'm real excited to see which one works best, which one looks best, and to give some pizzazz to these foam heads. So hang in there and I will be back in just a little bit. Okay, I'm back for just a minute because I wanted to tell you that putting these on, it does work better when I dunk it into a little bit of water before I stick it on there. So that's something that technique I'd used on something else. On the leaves, it didn't work at all, but on the scrapbook paper, it's working pretty good. All right, so far this technique of, let's see if I can bring the water over here so you can see, just dipping it in water, and then I'm just rubbing it across the paper plate that has Mod Podge in it and sticking it on, and that allows me a lot of room to change it, move it around, and it sticks really well. It's got a lot of Mod Podge, but that is perfectly okay. But this so far is much easier than the last one, and it's looking better. So we shall see how this goes. So how's it looking so far? I'm loving it. This technique is so much easier than the other. It's very forgiving. I can move pieces around before it sets, and it looks pretty cool. So far this one's a winner. I will continue on and be back with you in just a little bit. Okay, here's my second one, and it was definitely more fun to do. It needs to dry, and then we'll do the outer coat of Mod Podge. It reminds me of a little bit of something that maybe should be in the X-Men. I don't know, what do you think? On to step 3. On the third one, we're going to use tissue paper. Let me gather my supplies and I'll be right back. Okay, I just bought some inexpensive tissue paper at the Dollar Tree, and I've cut it up, and we're going to attempt to apply it using the Mod Podge. So let's see here. I'm just going to start here in front, so get an idea of how it works. I'm just brushing on the Mod Podge quite liberally. And then I'm gonna get some tissue paper and we'll see. I just literally cut it randomly. I'm not one to try to make it all nice and neat. I like to overlap it, so let's just see what happens. I like the randomness of it. Let's see here. This foam head is shorter than the other two that I did, and it's got a little bit more of a base, so it'll be interesting to see how it's going to work, to see how that covers. I am going to continue putting this all the way around the head, and I will be back in just a little bit to show you what it looks like when I'm done. Okay, so far this has been an easier process. You just have to be careful not to rip the paper, but I'm using the sponge brush and I'm just quickly going over, and then, whoops, I'm hitting the camera and everything else. I'm taking big pieces of the tissue paper and just laying them down on there. And then I'm getting more Mod Podge on the brush and I'm going over it, and the foam brush helps to adhere it both on the underneath side and the top side. So that's been so much easier and so quick to do. This one hasn't taken me nearly the time the other two have taken. I'm going to finish it up. I just wanted to kind of show you where I was at on it right now, and I will show you the finished product when I'm done. My oh my, I learned some lessons, starting with the leaves. Although it was a great idea, it did not come to fruition. The leaves did not stick with Mod Podge, it didn't stick with the Elmer's glue. They're, as you can see, coming off and sticking out. They did not work at all. The second attempt with the scrapbook paper, cut into pieces, dipped in water, dipped in the Mod Podge and placed on the head, worked much better. It was by far my favorite technique to use, and I will use it again. The third technique, the tissue paper, it worked okay. A couple of my problems with it wasn't the tissue paper itself, it was this head, which had ears and was a shorter base. But it looks pretty cool. It was really simple to do, and I may try it again. But overall, of the three, my favorite is the center one, which is the scrapbook paper.
Thank you for spending your evening with me. If you would, please like and subscribe so that you get notified of any new videos that I put out. Have a good evening.